Should be coming up any second.
Okay, we are now live.
Okay, we are back in open session. Next item, item C, consideration of resolution 20-11-2446, approval of 3-year proposal from Barnes Incorporated for brush collection services put forth by the Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
Second.
Brian, were you going to talk about this, or
Yeah, no changes from our last discussion. Staff recommends approval.
does anyone have any questions? Alder Groupie?
I just have a comment. We've gotten a lot of, I have several comments from residents about, leaf and street sweeping management. And I just want to point out that this is a separate service for, brush collection specifically. So just those things are separate services. So, I'm pleased with Director Stefani's assessment of our relationship with Barnes.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, well then I'll call the question. Joan, do you need a roll call on this? I think.
It's a contract, so it'd be helpful.
Pardon?
It's a contract, so it would be helpful. I don't know.
Okay. Could the clerk please call the roll? Joan, you're on mute. Oh, there you
Yeah, if I could, hey, I got to learn how to do this. Okay, Alder Kerr,
Aye.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Goforth,
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, consideration of resolution 20-11-2447, adopting the 2021 operating budget and establishing a tax levy, put forth by Mayor O'Connor. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll second.
Okay, we have 4 amendments, although I think the last one we've agreed is not going to be necessary. But we'll go to the first one, which is to amend the budget number 2101 to amend the budget for an updated estimate for fire protection fees. Total increase of $9,694. It's related to the fees the city receives for crashes on the Beltline. Is there a motion to approve this?
So move.
Second.
Alder Thomas, would you and
I would, but I'd like the chief to, well, first of all, I guess I'll start. The chief jumped in and started work immediately and found a way that we could be gathering more revenue. We used to do this, and I think, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 2010 the last time we did it before, and I'll let him explain to you what it is. So this more accurately reflects the revenues that we expect to receive from fire protection fees. And furthermore, it allows us to do the budget as proposed, stay within the levy limits, and not dip into the fund balance any longer for operating costs. So Chief, do you want to explain your wonderful find and action on this?
I don't know about wonderful, but one of the things I looked at when I first started, state reimbursement for highway crashes, car fires, and brush fires has been in place for a couple of decades now. Unfortunately, the state tends to change the rules on a regular basis. Last record that I can find was 2011 of it being submitted for any type of reimbursement costs. So state will.
Could I just interrupt you for a minute, Jerry? What exactly is this reimbursement? Do we get reimbursed for a percentage of our costs?
So what the state will do is they understand there's costs involved with certain types of incidents. So if it's a car accident where you're actually called to do something rather than traffic control, if it's a car fire or if it's a brush fire off of a state highway, any of those 3 types of calls, the state offers reimbursement if we are unable to collect from the people responsible for the calls. So a couple examples I can give you. Last week, we had a car fire out on the Beltline, which we extinguished. My fire guys did a great job. That particular individual does not have insurance. I will send him a letter anyway, asking for insurance information. Whether he responds or not, if we don't get payment from his insurance because he doesn't have any, we can submit that to the state for reimbursement. the state will reimburse us up to $500 of our costs for any of those 3 types of calls on any state highway. So we have to make an honest effort to collect it first. But once we've made that honest effort, that paperwork goes into the state along with a form that they have. They will reimburse us up to $500. I will tell you up front, our cost exceeds $500 on every call that we respond to on the interstate, or I'm sorry, on state highways. I have a cost sheet put together built off of FEMA costs for how much it costs to operate an engine, the personnel costs of our people, that sort of thing. So any call that we respond to that we cannot get the responsible party to pay for, or if there is no responsible party, we can submit that to the state for reimbursement. When I first started looking at it, the end of October, I identified 31 calls last year in the last 12 months that we could have submitted for at $500 a call. I submitted the first 4, which were the oldest ones from last November, to get an idea from the state what they're looking for to be able to submit those. And he did respond back very quickly on what they're looking for, which drives me going forward. So the 20 calls for next year, I think, is conservative. I'm not a optimistic type of budget guy when it comes to revenue. I'd rather be conservative. So I think 20 is conservative. Going through the records over the last 3 years, we're averaging anywhere from 30 to 40 calls a year out on the state highways. So by putting that budget up to 20 calls, I think that's realistic and conservative. My goal is to actually exceed that revenue line item.
Alder Thomas.
Yeah, I wanted to correct an error. I meant to include Alder Moore's name on this as a sponsor because I talked to her about it and it didn't get put on, so I apologize for that.
Alder Moore.
Jerry, can you explain, you said that the state's program has fluctuated or hasn't necessarily been consistent. And I'm just curious, I mean, I know it's water over the dam at this point. I'm assuming that we can't submit for past years or past issues, but I'm just curious as to whether this is something that just, for lack of a better word, slipped through the cracks for the last 9 years since 2011, or did the state's program actually change so that it wasn't available?
I would guess it was a little bit of both. There is a considerable amount of work involved to do that. You have to have access to the state's crash database. So like for the 2 calls last week, I'll reach out to Sarah at the police department to get the actual MV4000 numbers. I've got to get the crash numbers, log into the state's crash database and see what they have for responsible party information. Once I have that, I can generate a letter and mail it out to the responsible parties. I basically, week to 10 days, if we don't hear back, we can submit that to the state. So, and to answer your question about previous years, I have the 31 calls from the previous 12 months that I will be working on submitting. So how much of that we collect, I don't know, but I believe it's an opportunity to get things going in a better way. My on-duty staff already knows at this point to notify me if we have a car fire, car accident, or a brush fire on Highway 12. So I know I'm on the CAD most of the time anyway, so I see it, but in case I miss it, they can point it out to me and I can get things started on my end. Most of the work is on my end. Once that's done, it gets submitted up to Joan to sign it and she forwards it on to the state. They were very responsive. Joan, what were they? Maybe 3 or 4 days and he responded back.
Like a minute and a half.
Yeah, it was very quick, which was great because it gave us the information I needed to be able to submit to what the current administration is looking for that program. The requirements have changed over the years. When I started quite a few years ago, it literally was if you had a call on a state highway, you could submit it and get paid. That was all there was to it. There wasn't any attempt to try and collect or insurance or any of that. You could submit and get $500 to the fire department. So it has morphed over the years, probably due to some misuse by the fire departments in some cases. So they've kind of tightened up the reins on a little bit, but it is work that can be done. And yeah, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, the work for the last year is already done. I just have to generate the letters for it.
That's great. I
Great.
appreciate
Thank
that you found that. Anyone else have any other questions about this particular amendment? And again, this is one of the, this amendment is what allows us to cover the police contract in addition to the, what's remaining under the levy limit cap. Anything else? Alder Thomas.
I would rephrase that a little bit because I know of sensitivity. This allows us to cover our cost of doing these, which doesn't require that we use the levy, and therefore we have levy available.
Right.
But it is, this is actually what I would call a fee for service.
Mm-hmm.
And it covers the cost of doing these calls, which means we don't have to use that money there. And I appreciate that. I mean, that's the point of trying to do this, but I don't want anyone to think that we're using the fire department to cover the salary of the police budget, because we're covering cost of the some of our ambulance or fire protection services. And we'll talk about, I mean, the chief and I will be talking a lot about percentage, about what's leviable and what's feeable and all kinds of things as we're going forward.
Yep, you're correct, Kathy. I didn't mean to imply that.
I know you didn't.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor of the motion, say, or the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next amendment put forth by me, 2102, is to amend the budget for the 2021 police contract. This would include the remainder of the money under the that remains under the levy limit cap, which was it 18,000 something, Brian, and then the additional money that you just approved. I guess Brian, did you have anything else to add to that explanation? Is there a motion to approve this?
Approval.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item 2103 proposes a 1% increase for non-represented employees put forth by Alder Coor. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll move.
Second.
Jennifer, did you have anything else to add?
No.
No? Okay. Any questions for Jennifer? Alder Groupie.
Just another thank you for this proposal. I think it's a really good idea, and I appreciate that Alder Coor put in the work to make it happen.
And I appreciate all the departments agreeing to take more cuts as well. Alder Wood?
Yeah, well, I would second that sentiment, and also was going to say it was great to hear from the various department heads last time, their willingness to take some of the cuts in their budgets to make this happen. So,
Alder Coor.
I appreciate all of the department heads from doing, agreeing to take the cuts that I suggested. I guess I was a little frustrated because looking at the budget took me an hour to find these cuts. To me, we could have had this in the budget from the beginning. It says a lot to our staff that we went into this budget process with no increases and no merit pay. And I think it sends a message to staff that I wouldn't be comfortable sending. So I'm hopeful that we do remedy this by passing this amendment.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item amendment 21-04. Do we need to formally withdraw that?
It would be helpful, just for the record.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are back to the original motion to approve the budget. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Core,
Aye.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Goforth.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And thank you to all of the staff and department heads, and especially to Mark and Brian for all the time and effort that was put into this. It takes a long time to put together a budget like this, and this was not an easy one. So moving on to the next item.
Mayor,
Yes,
I
Alder Moore?
I would just like to extend my thanks to you as well, because I know how many hours you put into this.
Thank you. I did try to do my best.
And I know it's really difficult, and I definitely appreciate your initial sentiment of not wanting to lay anybody off, and I recognize that we're that it's obviously a tough budget year, and God willing it'll be less tough this next year, but with COVID news of a vaccine, but nonetheless I know it was hard.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, we'll move on to new business. Item 2A, consideration of resolution 20-11-2449, approving the terms of a 2-year contract with Wisconsin Professional Police Association, Law Enforcement Employee Relations Division, put forth by the Finance and Personnel Committee.
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Goforth,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Core,
Aye.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, consideration of resolution 20-11-2450, approving the terms of a 2-year contract with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 311, put forth by the Finance and Personnel Committee.
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move. I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was the first?
Alder Thomas.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Oh, we need a
Aye.
call.
I'm sorry, Joan. Would the
That's
clerk
okay.
please call the roll?
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Goforth,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Core,
Aye.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, consideration of resolution 20-11-2451, approving a proposal from GovHR USA for services related to the police chief recruitment, put forth by the city administrator and the Police and Fire Commission. Brian?
Thank you. So as you're aware, with Wally's pending retirement here in the next, Wednesday is the last official day in the office, and then kind of officially leaving city service at the end of the year. Police and Fire Commission has begun the process for recruitment of a new fire chief to replace Wally. And in thinking about this process and kind of given the importance of the police chief position in the world that we live in, they thought it was important to bring in some assistance to help them with the executive recruitment. So they asked me to put together an RFP to solicit 2 firms that do this type of work. So I put that out at the end of October, and we got 4 responses back to this search, and I've listed that in the memo that's in your packet. But we received a response from Baker Tilly, GovHR, Step Up Equity Matters, and the Rising Group, and the costs of their proposals are included on this cover sheet. After discussing this at their meeting last week, they ultimately decided to recommend approval of GovHR for this contract for a couple of factors. One, GovHR has done a number of police chief searches in Wisconsin in the last 5 or so years, particularly Waukesha, Middleton are a couple of the more recent ones. They're known in this kind of arena for doing local government specific type of executive hiring, and they have a long track record for that type of work. They're called a couple of their references, and all of the references from other communities spoke very highly about their process and would recommend hiring them again. And ultimately, they came in as the low responsible bidder for this contract as well. In addition, one of the discussion points from the PSC was in hiring a firm like GovHR, you're getting a little bit more of a regional draw because this firm comes from the Chicagoland area. So you get more of a national search. It's with the reach for that organization. So with that, they recommend adoption of GovHR. And then the next resolution that comes right after this is the budget amendment that would correspond to paying for this contract out of undesignated fund balance.
Don't you want us to act on this tonight?
Right.
You could, if the council is willing and interested to do so, I'd be happy.
Move approval. Just move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay,
Motion carries. Jennifer, you voted no?
I did.
Okay. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, Brian, did you have anything additional to add?
No, just happy to take any questions from the council.
Okay. Alder Groupie.
Fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be a real surprise comment coming from Alder Groupie, but I wanted to compliment GovHR's status as a certified female business enterprise. And I'm hopeful that given, again, the city's bent toward encouraging more equitable practices, the fact that this contract involves a public input session or a method of soliciting public input about this position, I'm hopeful that we can look a little bit more broadly in terms of diversity for this position. So I think the memo looks great, and I'm excited about the prospect of what's to come.
I think of the four that we received proposals from, this one did look the best, at least in my opinion. I think Brian thought so, that and Baker Tilly perhaps, but any other comments? Alder Coor.
So I have some concerns about the racial backgrounds of the people that were leading our search. The chief that is, I'm blanking on his name, I'm sorry, who is heading up the search, he comes from a background in Winnetka, Illinois. Certainly not your most diverse city. It's 94% white, certainly not economically diverse either. Their average median income is over 200,000. And so I'm just wondering if we consulted Nehemiah at all about these recruiting. You know, we're looking to move towards, you know, some sort of equitable, at least appearance. And from the looks of this contract, I don't see that.
To answer the question specifically, no, we did not run these contracts by Nehemiah, but the plan would be that we would consult with Nehemiah as we're going through the recruitment process to make sure that they have the ability to weigh in and provide guidance for us.
Alder Thomas, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, Alder, go forth.
Yeah, I think in reading GovHR's proposal, they talked about public input and public engagement. And I know we still have 2 listening sessions left with Nehemiah. I wonder if there might be an opportunity there to have Nehemiah involved in one of those public engagement sessions with GovHR in this process. I also wanted to mention, I had a conversation with Brian earlier today because I noticed that 3 of the firms that applied were local and GovHR was not local. And that brought some concerns to me. I'm big on local, especially when you think of this kind of position and the nuances in our community being very specialized and people from our area understanding that. And Brian talked me through that pretty well. And I was comfortable with the selection of GovHR based on the conversations that were happening in that commission.
Brian, do you want to address those concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first question about whether or not Nehemiah in the listening session can be part of this, I think I would reverse it and do it the other way. I don't want to use one of the Nehemiah listening sessions as part of the police research. I would rather see if there's a way that Nehemiah can be part of and help shape whatever public input component that becomes part of the search. Because I think those listening sessions are for kind of more broad-based community conversations about these issues. I wouldn't want to just have one that's so tailored on this topic that we lose out on the broader conversation. But I think Nehemiah, would be interested and willing to be part of whatever public component that we have for this search. Specific to the locality of the different firms. So yes, Rising Group is a Madison-based firm. Step Up Equity is Madison-based. Baker Tilly, they have an accounting firm office in Madison, but the executive search function is actually out of their Twin Cities office, so they would not be local. And the PFC did talk about these things, but they leaned more on the experience that GovHR has in doing these type of searches versus kind of the local connection, because again, the need and the desire to kind of broaden the pool of candidates that we might get versus kind of focusing it towards a Kane County or Madison specific search.
Anyone else? Okay, so there is a motion to approve this tonight, correct? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Goforth,
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Alder Coor,
Nay.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, consideration of resolution 20-11-2452, amending the 2020 operating budget to fund police chief recruitment services. Put forth by the city administrator. I assume we'll want to take this out of order as well.
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, is there motion to approve?
Move approval.
I'll
Second.
Any discussion? Or Brian, I guess, do you want to explain this?
No, just that, again, since this is an unbudgeted item, this budget amendment is to take it out of fund balance for this contract.
Alder Groupie.
Just a quick comment. I think Alder Coor's comments tonight were important, and I think the discussion about this is important. And I think that we should be held accountable for how this search goes. And I'm grateful for the collaboration that will happen with our other outside entities with whom we're contracting. So just something for us all to keep in mind as we approve this tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none. Joan, do you need a roll call for this one?
It's an amendment, so yes.
Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie.
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Goforth,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Coor,
Nay.
Motion carries. Next item is reports of committees, commissions, etc. Let's see, I guess we'll start with Alder Thomas.
No report.
Alder Goforth.
Yeah, Landmarks has approved our RFP for repairing the pagoda and getting estimates for that repair. And that's currently being sent out. And then I don't have any reports from other committees. I did just want to give a big shout out to the overwhelming support of the Monona community on our November 7th bike donation drive for free bikes for kids. Amazing, really amazing. And Jerry and his crew were so fun to work with. We were running around like crazy, but having a ton of fun. And that day we saw 250 bicycles rolled through the door of that bay where the antique fire truck sits. So that was by far the biggest collection site of the 9 collection sites we had. The second place was Verona Fire Department with 200. So thank you, Jerry. And thank you to everyone in Monona who donated.
That's great. Alder Groupie.
No report.
Alder Moore.
No report.
Alder Coor.
Library board meets tomorrow night.
Alder Wood.
No report. I would say I donated one of our old kids' bikes, and I was blown away when I went down there and saw how many bikes there were. And then I just, want to say thank you to Wally for all the years and the great work he's done over 16 years. And it's going to be really weird not to have you around. So maybe, well, yeah. And it's too bad that given COVID, we can't really do a proper send-off right now either. But thanks, Wally.
We do have some ideas for that in the future.
Good.
Wally, would you like to say anything?
Sure, I'll give a little short report and then I'll say a little something, something. As the mayor mentioned earlier in the meeting, Lieutenant Duman and I did meet with a group that was responsible for a couple of protests on the Beltline. Our goal was to try to convey to them how dangerous it was. So we did meet with them. I thought it was a good meeting. We allowed them to video the meeting. About 40 minutes into it, we found out that it was being Facebook Live, which put a sort of put us all in an awkward position. We got them to stop doing that though, and we got over it. But we talked about basically the three major incidents that we've had so far this year. And I think everyone came away from that meeting with a better understanding of what the issues were for both sides. So I thought it was real productive. On Friday the 13th, the DA cleared our officer that was involved in the incident from September. It was investigated by DCI. It's interesting, the body-worn camera state statute makes it the responsibility of the agency that has the camera to release that footage. So Lieutenant Duman, Sarah is working with Will to kind of get her up to speed on the redaction process. So all the body-worn camera footage, along with the DCI report at some point, I would imagine, I mean, I think we'll be ready. Sarah could be ready soon, but within the next week or so, it might be a little bit longer, but we'll have a link on the Monona website so people can read the report, just like the other reports are out there too. It's amazing how much stuff you accumulate after 16 years, but it's time. I had 27 years in Northbrook, which happens to be where GovHR is housed on Dundee Road. I had no contact with them at all though, ever. And then I had 16 years here in Monona, so that's 43 years. My problem is I got old. And when I originally was interviewed by the PFC, they asked how many years I'd be here. I said, oh, maybe 5. And next thing you know, 16 goes by. I've always used in-service training as sort of a barometer of when it's time to go. I've always participated as much as I could. I think they took it easy on me a little bit with the defense and arrest tactics, which I appreciate, but I was still in there. I didn't want to be one of these guys that quit with 1 day's notice that we saw in a large city that surrounds us. So I actually told them back in April that I was planning on leaving towards the end of the year. And I think I thought back at this the other day. I had to laugh. I told Will this in an interview on the radio, but we were doing the recruit testing, and part of the test is you have to do this jump up in the air. And you're supposed to go like 15.5 inches up. So I said, hey, I can do that. So in front of all these recruits, I jumped, and I think I made it maybe 10 inches up. It was embarrassing. But at that point, I knew it was the right time to go. So it hasn't been a really good year to end on, but I'll miss the community members. I'll miss our city officials. They've been outstanding. The department heads and other city employees are just top notch. And I'll mostly miss all our police employees. They've become like family to me. So I won't miss the job, but I'm going to miss a lot of the people. So thank you.
Thank you, Wally. We hope you'll come back and visit.
I will.
Chief McMullen, would you like to say anything? Any news to report?
Just a couple of quick things. First of all, thank you, Wally. It's been great. You made my transition easier. So 6 weeks isn't quite 16 years, but I echo the sentiment of our elected officials and the community. They've been great. I do have 7 new volunteers coming on. We interview them tomorrow night. So we've got 3 new volunteers from Monona and 4 from outside the city that are looking to start up with us. So we'll do interviews tomorrow night and get those folks on board despite COVID. We've got a safe way to do that. The only big thing I've got, other than Medic 62 going in service, hopefully next week, we've got a couple more pieces we're waiting should be in service fairly quickly. Brian's got the RFP for EMS billing. We got 3 responses to that. I reviewed those over the weekend in my free time and provided a recommendation up to Brian. So hopefully that'll be shared at the next city council meeting. But other than that, thank you for a great 6 weeks so far. It's been good.
Well, thank you. I have to say you are up to an amazing start. It's really pretty impressive, I think. So let's see, Joan, did you have anything?
I don't know, nothing's happening in this world over here. Now, we'll find out about a recount. That's sort of the other shoe that needs to drop. Wednesday or Thursday would be when we find out. The lawsuit was dropped, which is awesome news. And then hearing that the White House would have to come up with, it wouldn't be the White House, it'd be the candidate, would come up with $8 million in order to do a Wisconsin statewide recount. So I'm kind of hoping because, you know, Wisconsin has a record of, you know, very secure and accurate elections. And we've gone through 3 statewide recounts within the last few years. And all of them have proven to have very little change in the outcome. So, you know, it's sort of a moot point in my opinion, but that's my opinion doesn't count. So if it happens, we'll be ready. My office is still full of election stuff, but we're hoping it doesn't. So otherwise, turnout was amazing and the polling place went great. And so far, everybody stayed healthy, and that was my major concern. So that was it.
Good news. Thank you. Leah, did you have anything?
No report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. City Administrator Gatto?
Nothing major to report, just we're keeping an eye on COVID cases kind of around the area, and that'll dictate if we make any changes to, you know, openings or closings of buildings. So we'll let you know if anything is to change.
Do we know if we have a lot of COVID cases in Monona?
I think a couple hundred is the last I saw at the end of last week.
Yeah, it's kind of divided up. So there's a couple census districts or census tracts that split Monona up, and they're kind of evenly divided amongst the 2 major census tracts in town.
Okay, then I just had a couple things. Jake isn't here, but I wanted to congratulate him. I've heard from a couple parents recently who are really happy with his learning labs. He's got 3 different ones set up, as you probably know, where school-age children are going during the day, and they're helping them with virtual learning. And apparently they're working, the parents are very pleased, and it's working out quite well. He had asked me to mention also that Jerry Murphy really recently passed away. He was a founder and longtime business manager for Monona Home Talent, and our Murphy Anthony Field at Huska is named after him. So he passed away right after the last meeting, I think. And finally, for anyone who hasn't heard it, the county board did approve our $2 million grant, which will go towards the purchase of San Damiano at their meeting last week. And that's wonderful news. And it's really gives us a great kickoff to the fundraising we hope to do over the next 6 months towards the purchase of San Damiano. So, okay, that's everything I had. We have 2 appointments. Anna Caldwell Overdeer as an election inspector and Angela Davis to the Public Safety Committee. Is there a motion to approve those?
I'll move to approve.
There's a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion opposed? Nobody? Motion carries. Thank you all. And we don't meet for 3 weeks now. So have a nice Thanksgiving.